Welcome to the fourth episode, Born in Trouble. I'm your host, John X, bringing you the real conversations. Tonight, we're light on staff. It's me and my boy, everyone, Mr. Grant Lancaster, owner of City Wings.
2896 West Grand Boulevard.
Yes, sir. The only free commercial that we have here.
Yeah, I didn't know I was gonna get an applause.
No, you always get applause, bro. You always get applause. If people aren't familiar with Grant, if you're a first-time listener to the show, Grant is a Detroit firefighter, owner and entrepreneur, owner of City Wings, a popular spot that's right down the block from Motown in Detroit City.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Right on West Grand Boulevard.
West Grand Boulevard. Yep, and if you've ever been there, if you've ever been to the city of Detroit, most people who have been to the city of Detroit have been to City Wings. So we have found out. You got a nice little reputation. How many years you been in business now, Grant?
12. It'll be 13 in September.
Wow.
That we've been open.
Wow.
Yeah, that we've been open to sell chicken. It'll be 13 years in September.
That's what's up.
And it took like a year and a half to build that piece, because we leased the space and it was just in white box.
Okay.
So we had to we was in there with jackhammers and wet saws, and so every like beam, every stud, every piece of sheetrock, my fingerprints are on everything in there.
That's what's up. Sometimes you got to go to you got to go the extra mile if you want to be a entrepreneur today. You have to do the extra things that will make you profitable. And some people don't understand that. They're still try to get other people to do it. But I think that those days are over to a large extent, unless you're going to pay for AI.
Right, which is something that's possible apparently.
Right.
But yeah, being a mom and pop kind of store like we are, you got to put that sweat equity in. If you don't, it'll never work. You know what I mean? It's hard to get somebody else to see your vision, right, and to make it come, to make it happen. So if you don't put that work in, you probably ain't gonna get it
come to fruition. I think it was a lot easier in past days to actually come back. We live in a country and a culture. Well, I wouldn't even say that. Let me just change that, because where there's a will, there's a way. So if there's a will for someone to steal your ideas or your property, your intellectual property, your credit, your name, they're going to find a way to do it. I was just reading something on the internet. I'm not going to get into it, but I read something on the internet this weekend, and I was like, wow, that is not what happened. But it's like people always try to step in and take credit for other things that other people have done. And that's kind of a part of our culture right now. It's a way it's the way that people are actually going about things. They actually want to, the hypocrisy is like incredible with a lot of things. We were having a conversation this week about something. It was about the women's basketball tournament, that whole controversy. You saw that, what happened with Bayou Barbie and everybody blowing up.
Yeah.
It was just stupid, because to me it's like, if you don't play basketball, you don't have no fucking voice in that conversation. That's two competitors playing a game. Where was the racial element in that?
Right. Well, I think that the bigger thing was, you can't fault somebody for expressing happiness in whatever way it turns out. And I'm sure that there was a lot of shit talking on that court.
Yeah.
Because
exactly.
we saw old girl from, was it Iowa?
Iowa, yeah.
Or wherever she was from. We saw old girl. Yeah, we saw her giving a lot of people the business.
Yeah, she was. And you know what?
She was giving a lot of people the business.
You know what? The good part about the game is that she was giving them the business on the court too, in between the lines.
Right. Oh, absolutely.
No doubt. Yeah.
She was supporting that shit talking.
Oh yeah, no doubt.
But then, really, the thing that's significant to me is that she didn't say nothing.
Nah.
You know what I mean? Like she understood that it was just okay. Well, she beat me, so she get to talk that shit. I was doing the John Cena, so now she get to do it to me. So I mean, turnabout is fair play.
That's it. She understands sportsmanship. That's the reason why she's playing the game. She understands sportsmanship. She understands the game of basketball. And if you've ever played basketball, you know, it's like, to me, it's like I kind of laugh at my old days of playing basketball. I got people that are still mad at me for the number of times that I beat them up at Timberline. You know, they still don't give me my credit. I give myself my flowers. It don't matter. Because, you say all those names, but remember who was pinning your shots up against the backboard, buddy. And it wasn't them.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. You might have got me once or twice.
I got a couple of people a lot of times. And most importantly though, it was about, to me, whenever I play anything, and the same way it is with you, when you play anything, you're highly competitive, it's about winning. And when you're trying to win, sometimes you're talking that shit, and the shit that you talk, most of it is really to get your opponent off of their game, you know, and that's part of the whole thing.
Exactly.
So it's like we have people that were making this like game into something that was important to them that it wasn't about, which was race. Right. You know, and they're trying to turn it into something, and that's kind of the way that they've done everything. Everything it's snowflakes and censorship go together. All your books are being censored on one point, and on the other point is they're saying like, I don't want to see people in drag walking down the street. You know, you want to censor those people, but you want to also take away books like Tom Sawyer. You know, books like To Kill a Mockingbird.
Right.
You know, why? What is it, bro? You know, are we just a shooter society now? Are we just gonna shoot them up, bang bang? Is that what it's coming down to?
Look, people's sensibilities are way too high, man. Like, there's no we need more emotional maturity in the world. You know, people they react to these things, they have these emotions, and they don't know how to really deal with them. And I think that might be something that needs to be taught. You know what I mean? Like I'm not really big on like therapy in that. However, I do recognize that a lot of people in these days and times need therapy because people are not getting everything that they need at home. You know, communication is different, with all this texting and everything. People are kind of in silos. Everybody's much more isolated than they once were. So there's really no learning ground for like conflict resolution. Yeah. And if you're not learning how to resolve conflicts, that emotion that something brings is liable to just make you pop off like you a 7-year-old.
Yeah, it's definitely.
And I mean, when you're a 7-year-old, it's kind of all right. But when you're a 37-year-old, it's not all right.
When you're a 25-year-old, it's not all right. You know, right before this show, I had a very, I was very busy and working today and different things. And, when I do that, I don't turn my TV on. I don't watch the news and everything. I'm not checking Facebook or Instagram and none of that. And just like around 7:30, I looked at the Twitter feed for the first time today and saw that there was a mass shooting today in Kentucky. Did you see that?
Yeah, I'm not even hip. Yeah, I'm not even hip. Man, my day today was a whirlwind for me.
Right, that's what I'm saying. It's like people get shot, man, when you don't even fucking know it and everything.
You don't even know it.
And it was like, and you don't even know it. It's crazy.
How insane is that?
And this dude, but I was reading about it. It was this time it was, and peep game. Kentucky. It was an employee who's 25 years old. His father was a basketball coach at a local college for like 20 years. And the thing that struck me about it was that the father had actually quit his job as basketball coach at one point when this young man, who just gunned down 13 people, shot 13 people, and killed 5 of them, right? He quit his job so he could spend more time with his son. So I'm like,
wow.
Yo, This is a kid who, like, he had the attention of his parents. He had a leg up. He actually was smart enough to take a duals degree, master's degree at Alabama, to one of those programs that's accelerated, where he got his master's within like 4 or 5 years from starting school. And they told him that he was going to lose his job, and he lost it. His answer to that first failure in life was to grab a shotgun and go and shoot people. Whereas before, these lessons that, you know, the first time that you fail in life after all of that stuff, and that's major. It is a major thing for him to lose that job, but he's got a master's degree. You know, he can bounce back. Nobody's teaching these kids resiliency. We're teaching them just to shoot people. So now he has no chance whatsoever. And then the crazy part about it is, Grant, peep game, 2 miles away at the same time, there was a shooting going on at a college where one other person lost their life, and I think like 5 other people got shot.
Damn, they on a rampage.
They're on a rampage in Kentucky. I don't know. I don't know if the coffee is bad or what.
So I just Googled it, and so this dude was 25 years old.
25 years old.
Wow. That's
everything,
insane, bro. But there you go. No conflict management. Probably never played a sport.
He did.
You know what I mean?
He did. His father was a coach.
He was the basketball player.
He was a basketball coach's son. Now, what I could say, what I thought about it, like as far as him playing sports, was that he probably wasn't very good at it. And with his father being a coach, I'm sure it was kind of a little bit of a disappointment.
Right.
That he wasn't like, you know, good. But that's just imagining a possible dynamic of what would cause this kid his angst. But even that isn't a bad thing. You know, he got through. He was blessed with intelligence. You don't always get to be the person that you want to be. You just are who you are.
But that could be something too. You know what I mean? That he wasn't as good as, you know, his father wanted him to be, or something, or you know what I mean? Like, it's a lot of ways that can go too. But, you know, conflict management, man, resolution, understanding how to deal with rejection. But in a world of participation trophies, how do you learn how to deal with like setbacks? You know what I mean? If everything is just all right, if there's never anything that you can't do, how do you deal with the first no? Right. You know what I mean? Like at some point, these things have to come into your life, and the later that they come in, the more dangerous those situations are going to be.
Right. How are you going to deal with failure? You know, a lot of these. I understand what's going on in this country to a large extent, because of the fact that you have a lot of parents who have basically pushed their kids forward, and they know that their kids aren't ready. They're not ready for the real world. They're not ready for failure. Look at what happened with this kid. He failed. That's really the bottom line. He failed, and he didn't know how to handle it. And what do they do now when these kids fail? They say that they set them up to fail in another place. You know, they're failing up. This is a kid who's an example of what failing up does for you and what it does to you. And what it does is it makes you want to go out and grab a gun and shoot somebody who may be able to do the job that you can't do. You know, it could very possibly be just the situation with the markets right now. You know, but if you're going through life, it's like one of the best pieces of advice. See, bring it back to sports. One of the best pieces of advice that I ever heard someone say, a coach say to me, he was like, "John, life is not a 50-yard dash; it's a marathon."
Right.
So you have to keep that in mind. And it kind of prepared me a lot of times. There are a lot of people out there in the world, when people hate on you and people hate you, what they focus on is they focus on your failures. They focus on those last things as if that is your identifier or your quality. And people are always going to judge you, but you have to, as a man, recognize that that judgment is not the end. You can't take that judgment to heart. because you taking that judgment to heart is going to have you in a shootout with the police eventually.
So I think that holding on to losses as opposed to wins, I think that's just kind of a human thing, right? So as a person who plays like poker, right?
Right.
If you ask a poker player, he can tell you like every significant hand that he lost. He can tell you that whole piece.
Right.
But a hand that he won is just, okay, yeah, I won.
Right.
You know what I mean? But
right.
something that he lost, that's always more memorable. And I like I said, I think that's just human nature. That we remember losses.
But then that goes to how you process that loss.
Exactly.
Do you process that loss as something to build upon, or do you process it as something that actually, as a reason why you're never going to level up to that point? And that's the whole mental game in the United States of America with what goes on with black and white and with culture wars and all of the stuff that goes on. It's all about making you quit, making you give up, because if you lack initiative and you lack if you lack the initiative to start a City Wings 13 years ago, almost 13 years ago, then you're never going to be a threat to anything in the structure.
Right.
So it's like part of what makes you good. And we've seen a lot of the turning back of the clock in the United States. We saw Tennessee try to turn back the clock, a state that actually does have a John Exum Boulevard. They're, very...
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, that's right. It's crazy. I found that out in college when I went on a date with this chick from Georgetown, and she pulled out her yearbook, and we were in her room later, and it said John Exum Boulevard. That was the street that her high school was on, which is crazy.
I thought she was going to say it was tattooed on her thigh or something.
Well, we do tattooing in many different ways, but it's like you're gonna devolve the conversation. You're gonna have me start talking about Elon Musk early. You saw what that juvenile ass did. This guy's supposed to be a genius. You didn't see it?
Nah, what did he do?
He took the W off of the sign of the Twitter sign out in front of their headquarters, and then when the owner of the building said that he couldn't do that, he just colored it the same color as the background, so it says Titter.
Yeah,
ladies and gentlemen, your leaders. These are your leaders.
Because I'm childish as hell, and I got billions of dollars.
Billions of dollars.
so
he's
you
out
can't
there.
Tell me shit.
He's out there racking up bodies at a what's the level? What's that cat? Mariah's ex-husband. What's Mariah's ex-husband?
Oh, Tommy Mottola.
No, not that one. The Nick Cannon.
Nick, yeah.
He puts up Nick Cannon numbers quietly. You didn't know that?
Oh, in terms of women, nah.
Yeah,
I don't follow.
Elon,
I tend not to follow celebrity.
Let me tell you something, man. All they do is they just want to. He's just emulating their hate. On one end, he's got this platform that's allowing white supremacists and all this hate talk and hate speech to become the norm. Now again on Twitter, now that he's purchased Twitter, that's his thing. But then on the other hand, he's out there emulating Nick Cannon and making as many babies as he possibly can. Nigga might as well be a rapper. For real.
Is he making mixed babies?
Oh no, he's not making any mixed babies though.
Oh, okay.
That he isn't doing. He's only picking pure European women for him to actually have babies with. If he does ever have a mixed baby, it would be sort of like he would be cowing down to social pressure by having a black child, and of course that would be the one that's neglected. So that's the way it is in that circle. Like Mick Jagger he's got a black child, a daughter, and she's seen him maybe once or twice in his lifetime. And that's one child that he never supported financially, whatever. That's just the way that it goes. So it is. Yeah. There's a lot of stories out there that are true or not true. And, you got to define whether or not it is. So...
Yeah, that's crazy. I can't even imagine knowing that I have a child out there, and not supporting it, not being in their life, and you know what I mean. Like that's just crazy.
Well, it depends on the situation, bro. I'll tell you that because
true.
That's like one of my. I do have a son that I haven't seen much, but it's like there's a different story. There's a backstory behind that, and it has to do with cases. Honestly,
right.
And one of the reasons why I never talk about that is because I feel like it's wrong for me to talk about that, not having talked to him about that.
But here's the thing, though. Yo, 50,000 a year as opposed to Elon Musk's 50 million a year. You know what I'm saying? Like if you had 50 million a year, I'm sure you could make it happen.
Oh yeah.
If it's, you know what I mean?
Well, you're not
if it's what you wanted and
you're not going through the same types of situations that someone like me goes through in that situation. In that situation, exactly. I have documentation before anything else, and and unfortunately, I don't want to make this. I never talk about these things because I don't like to talk about people who can't defend themselves. I feel like it's unfair,
right?
Honestly, whether or not the truth is the truth of these things are the truth of it is what it is. But the truth of the matter is that when you go into the court system and everything, the courts have an agenda, and especially like 20 years ago, 15 years ago,
Absolutely.
They have an agenda, and their agenda is not to make sure that you actually get to raise your own kids. We've been watching that since, what was that movie with James Earl Jones that I always talk about when he was the garbage man with Claudine. It's not these people, and a lot of people in the black community, it's unfortunate, but they look at the social service systems and the court system as being de facto parents. And they're not your parents. They don't give a fuck about you. They don't give a fuck about your families. They don't give a fuck about your kids and everything. If you don't know anything about anything, that you need to know. They don't give a fuck about their own kids. You look at these Republican states. These Republican states are repealing pills. You can't even, if you get raped in some of these states, they're actually making the abortion, the day after pill, unavailable to rape victims.
Right.
So you think they give a fuck about me? I've never had any type of misconceptions or whatever about what this country is and this world that we actually live in is. You can't say, anyone that sits around and says that, oh, this country is great or this place is great, you know what I'm saying? You're lying through your fucking teeth, because everybody has issues with the place that we live. We all have problems and we all have obstacles dealing with these people that we deal with. There is nothing that is like 100% like great and fine anywhere that you live. It could be better than other places. It could be worse. But you can't live somebody else's life. You can't.
Well, that was the whole thing with the "Make America Great Again" slogan, right? So that slogan just excludes a whole bunch of people. So for black people, this place, America, has never been great for black folk.
Never.
You know what I mean? So we're automatically excluded from that whole statement.
Right.
I mean, and I'm saying this on the grand scale. Of course, one or two will slip through the cracks. You know what I mean? There's a percentage of a percentage of a percentage that slipped through the cracks, and for those black folks, America has been great, but for most of us, it's been middling to sucky.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Really.
So but it's where we are. You know what I mean? So we have to deal with it on a level, but I think the key is to deal with it on your terms,
right?
And just be understanding of what it is,
right? You have to be able to accept whatever the circumstances are, whatever things that you do in your life. You have to be able to walk through them in a way,
right? Because what's the allow me to wisdom to change the things that I can, or whatever.
Right.
That whole change the things that I can, accept the things that I can't, whatever. That whole isn't that like an Alcoholics Anonymous?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's like a prayer.
That whole piece, man.
It's perfect.
Yeah, that's it right there.
It's perfect.
Yeah, that's where America is.
You know, this week I was
for most people.
Yeah, this week, like when I was talking about it, I said on a talk with a conversation with someone else online. I said, like, my whole thing is that right now is just avoiding dumb people and avoiding assholes and dumb people, because it's like, and I really mean that. No, but I really mean that. Whether it's not a matter of a political party, race, color, money, and everything. It's just mindset of dumb shit, which is basically permeating everyone in this country. Everyone thinks that their shit is supposed to be better than it is. And it's exactly what you've actually put into it. And that's where we are. I look at it, it's almost like an ageist war at this point. I see all these people that are our age and older, like, really wanting to start a war. And I look at young people, and young people don't really want anything to do with it. They just want to chill and fucking go about their lives. They just want to get jobs. You know, so it's like all these people that have already lived their lives and have already, like, you know, we're not supposed to be the ones dominating the streets of Las Vegas right now. That's supposed to be somebody under the ages of 40 and, like, you know, 40 at the highest and 20 at the lowest. You know, that's supposed to be Vegas right now, enjoying this country. These people are supposed to be enjoying this country, and what we have is we got a bunch of angry people that are like, fuck it, we don't want to give up, so we're gonna pull out these guns and we're gonna start shooting people. And people are getting shot because you're telling the weakest ones in this country that it's okay to actually shoot people, which is like whack. And the reason why this is happening because of stuff like, you know, the NCAA tournament. Like, Caitlin Clark played her ass off and everything. And I had fun seeing her going, like, you know, this in front of people. I'm like, shit. You know what I'm saying? White girl talking shit. You know what I'm saying? Out there with the court. But you wasn't thinking about it like, you know, like, oh, look at the white girl talking shit. Like, I gotta go get it. It's like, oh, shit, you know, she do her thing. You know what I'm saying? That's what it is. That's America. America used to root for each other. We used to root for each other, and it was just all about the performance. What's all this extra shit that's being thrown on, all this extra sauce?
So, just kind of to circle back, since you brought it back up, the NCAA thing, I think that there's a prejudicial piece to it, right? And the prejudicial piece is that this white athlete is playing what we would consider to be a black sport. And for her to find success in basketball gives her the right to kind of talk shit. And this is just my perception of what, like, people like Keith Olbermann had a mouthful to say about it, but that's what gives them license to kind of justify her being able to do the things that she did. And then when somebody black, who we expect them to win anyway, right? So when you're a black person in playing basketball and you show up a white person, it's not so much that you showed them up, but you were expected to win. So because you were expected to win, we expect you to react differently than this person who wasn't supposed to win.
So they've actually taken, as the favorite, they've actually turned it into an underdog story. I get what you're saying because of athleticism and the way it is. The way I look at it is, honestly, like, I look at it like, you know, to a large extent, white people have given up certain sports. I played basketball against some white boys that could ball. Like back in the days, they could ball, you know, because they practiced it. Ball now. Yeah, because they practiced, they played and everything, and they did their thing, and they weren't worried about anything else and all that other stuff. They weren't worried about this other stuff. Now, it seems to me like like you said, it's like you said, that because, like, they're expected to win. Black people are expected to win at the game, so now they've given up on competition, and now they've already decided that the only way they can win is to cheat. that's cheesy. That's not even American. That's not the, and another thing, like, we were talking, well, it really isn't, because I was talking about it the other day. And when I was talking about it the other day, I was talking about in terms of the 80s and how when we did shit in the 80s and the 90s as black people, we the first black people to, like, wear sneakers on the left side on, like, Broad Street. We the first black people to go into a club. We the first black people to open up a knitting business. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. You're not really the first black people to do it. We just did shit. It was not, the whole point was there wasn't an emphasis on that because it was everyone doing, people expected you to do it. Where the anger was coming from was when, say, for example, if you're a Caucasian person of a certain type of ideology and you want to have a chair built, and you walk into a store, and when you've heard that the store makes the best chair, and you walk into the store, and it happened to be a black proprietor behind the counter that was building the store, that was actually building these chairs and actually doing it, then the backlash would work backwards, because it's already out there, it's already established. People weren't trying to stop you just because of the fact that, back in the 90s, that's when those moves were being made. And everything. Right. But then those people, it's like there was a meeting of those 5 people that went to each store. That store could have had 100 customers, and maybe 2 of them would have had that ideology. And those 2 people got together with 2 more people that went to a burger spot, another place that went to a fur spot or a bicycle shop, and they said, you know what, this is getting out of control because the best shop is actually run by somebody of this race. We got to start getting together and making this a racial thing. And the numbers still don't bear out. They're never going to bear out equality for black people economically. So there really is no threat. Now you're just being like fucking stupid and mean. And it's the same things like they put the laws into place after slavery that put black people back in bondage if you just didn't have a job in the South. Right. It's the same types of, these parallels are not so different. It's like it's so far apart as far as years are concerned, but the parallels are not so different. So it's like, I think kind of what I'm trying to say is that by saying the first black person to do X, Y, or Z, I think that kind of sometimes is a crutch that kind of like holds you back. Because you don't need to fucking count. It doesn't matter whether you're the first one to do something. It matters whether you do whatever it is that you do well. Right.
But isn't it ironic, though, that in 2023, there is still the first black person to do blah, blah, blah. Yeah. In 2023. That's still a thing. Yeah. Right? So, it's, and I think this is what we have to realize as black folks. First of all, the playing field will never be level. Never. And it'll never be level because even if all we did was buy from one another, right? Let's just say all black folk did was buy goods and services from one another. We're not manufacturing anything. Mm-mm. So everything that I get the chicken that I get for City Wings, I get from an Amish farm. It's not a black Amish farm. Mm-hmm. It's just an Amish farm. Right, but there is no black farm that I can get chicken from. Even the nation's farm couldn't supply me enough. Right, so you have to be able to supply for the demand.
Well, here's the sad part about that. To just bring it back to all of us being the same at the end of the day. Besides the fact from it being a farm, let's not say it's a farm, let's say it's a textile mill. It's not a white textile mill in the United States either. Or there's not enough of them to support white people or black people or any business. True. For that matter.
True indeed.
So in that way, what y'all need to realize is that you've been rocked to sleep. You've been rocked to sleep, bro. You're not. None of this stuff is coming back to you. They control your means of production. They control the means of production. They control everything. Exactly. So it's just a matter of picking and choosing. So how could you imagine that this country is not moving in a fascist direction when you have Tennessee lawmakers kicking out duly elected officials because they agree that there should be a conversation about gun reform in the United States of America? And now that what they're doing is they try to silence you on these things by kicking you out completely and totally. They're going to shut you down completely and totally if they can't agree with you. And that is the opposite of what a constitution is. They're going to loosen up these gun laws so that in a state like North Carolina, a state like Georgia, you can carry a gun on your hip and there's no permit required whatsoever. Whatsoever.
Yeah, Michigan is an open carry state.
And you don't need it. Do you need any licensing requirements?
No, you need a CPL to carry concealed.
Okay.
But if you just open carry, that's perfectly legal.
That's perfectly legal. And this is what caused this guy, the governor of Texas, Abbott, they just had that ruling where the man got killed. Hey, Abbott! Hey, Abbott! I forgot all about that. That's back in the days. But I don't know that about that. But listen, they had this guy. He just got convicted for killing a BLM protester who was open carrying in Texas. And he had written on his Facebook or his Twitter, "They are protesting outside of my house. I might just go kill a motherfucker today," some shit like that.
Right.
And he goes and turns into a crowd when he shouldn't have turned into a crowd, and he ends up shooting somebody who's a protester. And now he gets convicted, and the governor of Texas is saying that he's going to pardon him. Already. That's not the justice system working. People don't understand that you can't have. This is like what we just talked about in the beginning of this show about failure. When you have failure, that is a conscious. It is a skipping of consciousness of doing the right thing, even if it's momentary, if it's a momentary lapse and everything. But that momentary lapse can be life-defining. And that man made that decision at that point in time to murder somebody, to act upon his emotions and his feelings. So now you're telling the rest of the country that it's okay to act upon your emotions and your feelings. You feel you might get shot. You feel that this black man is carrying a gun, and because he's got a gun and it's not pointing at you, he may decide he's going to point it at you. So now I can kill him. This white man is carrying a gun. And you see, it's only incendiary when you say this white man is carrying a gun. And I'm thinking to myself that he may point it at me and kill me. So I shoot him and I kill him. I'm going to jail.
No question.
This man is not going to jail. And his peers made the decision. These are decisions that this is beyond politics. It's really beyond politics. It's a decision that the people have made collectively. And it's a white guy, it's a white serviceman who shot another white serviceman. It's two Americans. Caught up in this gun shit.
I mean, look, this country, man, we're in a bad way, because we've taught people that everything is all right. Whatever you do, and you can do whatever you want to do, and it's all right. Right? We will make accommodations for anything that you want us to make an accommodation for. That's what this country has taught us. Now, we understand that the justice system is only going to protect certain people. And those people are typically of a certain financial status, persuasion, something. They somehow they got an ace up their sleeve, whatever that ace is. So, but when you've taught everybody that they can do whatever they want to do and it's just all right, a lot of people are going to suffer based on that feeling that they are allowed to do whatever they want to do.
Yes, because everything is a trigger now. Telling them no, saying no to them is a trigger.
Yes, sir.
And that could cause them to actually use a different type of trigger.
And you know what I think? If we didn't have these words just out there for people to be able to use, like trigger, like if we didn't say those things as much, and people just didn't have the language to make them like kind of explain it away, maybe they wouldn't act on these things. You know what I mean? Maybe there would be less. Maybe it would be like, well, I don't really know what I feel, so maybe I should just stand down and try to figure that shit out.
Well,
but no, I'm triggered. Bow.
Right. Well, you know what, Grant? You taught me something over the course of the show with your 85's gonna 85, because I really understand now that 85% of the population, not only are they going to just go with the flow, but they're also being taught by the system with relative ease. They're maintained and they're moved with relative ease. So all of these things that we wish for, that we hope for and everything, they can only come from those people who make those messages. And they're not going to give up those. That's not what they're doing. Obviously, this is what they want, because this is the message that are out there. It's obviously profitable for them. And at the end of the day, when all this stuff is over, and, if you have, whether you have bodies laying in the street or you have people walking up and down the street, those people are still going to be behind their gates, protected. It's very rare when some of them actually are affected. And it's at a higher level than people think, than they can even imagine or fathom. That shooting today that happened in Kentucky touched the governor, because one of the people that died was his close friend. Okay? But he's a bank president in Alabama. How much money is he really in control of over in Alabama? It's more of a ceremonial thing. The power comes with being able to move the people socially. That's why it's important socially that these people have these mindsets like we talk about. Like you and I, we grew up different. We grew up with a pride in who we are as black men. We never imagined that we were less than any other individual. But these people that grow up in these other areas, you have black people that actually feel like they are inferior. They've been indoctrinated into this inferiority thing. And a lot of it is basically they do it, it's not just a feeling, it's actually acted upon. They've seen their relatives railroaded. They've had their property stolen from them. They've not been able to get the redress for things that have happened to them in the legal system that other people have been able to have. When people say that slavery has been over for all these years, what's the matter with all these? You never hear that anymore, because everyone knows that up until very recently, if you could say, once again, after the Civil Rights Act was passed, if you could even say that litigation was actually, that they actually automatically changed that day and they said, okay, now we're going to do the right thing by any black landowner who comes over here and has his case straight and everything. No, these things still take time. We're talking about within our lifetimes. Within our lifetimes.
Right. Yeah. So I'm gonna give you a story. So my mentor is a white cat, Dave. Dave is an awesome dude. right?
Okay.
So one time, Dave he's in Detroit, and he wants to go look around at some properties. So we hop in his Escalade, and I'm driving, and we this is probably like 2009, something like that.
Okay.
So we hop in the Escalade, and we riding around the city. I'm showing him some choice spots, and he decides that he wants to go to Grosse Pointe. Grosse Pointe is an affluent kind of area, just outside Detroit. It's on the east side. So we're going down this street, Warren, and I think the dividing line is It's called Alter Road.
Okay.
So when we cross over Alter Road into Grosse Pointe, it's almost as if there was a curtain of like gloom that stopped at Alter Road, and when we went through Alter Road, like it was you know what I mean? Like it was like that. So
okay,
right, yeah. So we go somewhere and we sitting down to have something to eat, and we talking, and Dave was like, you know, and he said, what's crazy is the people on this side of Alter Road could never imagine living like the people on the other side of Alter Road.
Right.
And he said, but the people on the other side of Alter Road could never imagine living like these people on this side of Alter Road.
That's correct. That's correct.
That was some mind blowing shit to me. Like, I can't imagine not even having the wherewithal to strive to be something better. Right? You see what I'm saying? I mean, even if I don't make it, the effort was there.
Right.
These people these days, the effort is not even there.
They don't have the hope. They don't believe. Yeah. They don't have the belief.
Right.
You know, I've been dealing with that whole thing with, like, you know, what are you worried about? What are you worried about what I'm doing type of individuals? And, you know, really the thing is, like, you need to go out and get your own shit going. Get your own thing going. It's really not hard. I don't understand. Like, I can understand, like, this guy, this guy who, like, did the shooting today and everything, like, he had his whole life ahead of himself. All he had to do
25.
all he had to do is pick up and say, like, you know what? I made a mistake here, but maybe I can go and I can do something different. You know, he should have moped around his house and his drawers for a couple of days and went and slept with some loose women who didn't love him. There's plenty of things that you can do to actually kill time. Right, yeah, it does.
Right.
You know, it does.
Yeah.
You know, these are mitzvahs. These are parts of society that, like, we lose. You know, somebody could say, oh, that's wrong. No, that's right. That's people. That's two people comforting each other and being young and doing what people... Since when are we legislating feelings and legislating, you know, we're legislating abilities for people to... I just want to avoid dumb people, man.
The legislation of feelings has been going on for a little while, though. You know what I mean? Like, you're not allowed to dislike someone. You're not allowed to talk, you know, negatively about someone in a public space.
Well, that's not true.
You know what I mean?
I do it all the time and look at people and dare them to say something to it.
But
dare them to say something, but
there could be consequences and repercussions. So, like, when I'm at work,
like, you might laugh.
I can't say everything. Right? I can't laugh at somebody. I can't. You know what I mean? Like, you never know who might be offended by, and understand that your offense is just something that you feel. That doesn't make it real. Right. It doesn't. Just because you feel offended doesn't mean that I actually offended you. Right. It's just, you know, your perception of it. I mean, if I say something and I think it's funny and you take offense to it, who's to say that I'm wrong and you right? Right? Why can't it just be funny? Why does it have to be offensive?
Just keep it pushing.
Yeah.
Just keep. You know, we're in a war right now. We're in a serious war right now for people's minds and thought processes. Either you want to be a bitch or you want to live. That's, like, basically it. Those are your two choices. You can take what somebody gives you. You know what I'm saying? Nobody's going to judge you. for taking. Well, actually, we are going to judge you, but you ain't going to hear it because you're going to be behind closed doors somewhere. You're not going to be out. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, we're going to judge you. You know what I'm saying? But you can be a bitch if you want. Be a bitch. Life is like these things are. We do. Man.
Right, but now, now the problem is that now that speech that was behind closed doors, when me and you might go, we might see something and then get back to the crib and start talking shit about it. Mm. Now that shit talking that used to just be between me and you is now on Twitter, and it's between me and the 100 people that I know.
Don't nobody care.
And then their 100 people see it. And then, so it's multiplied.
I find Twitter and these places to be like quite interesting, because like people come up and they make statements and they're basically saying, I disagree with you, prove me wrong. And my answer to that most of the time is basically not to answer, because I don't know you and I don't need to prove anything to you. Go about your fucking day. Go about your day. Like if you're waiting, it's like if that's how you win by well, I'm offended by that and prove to me why, and like I want you to apologize to me. I want you to assuage my feelings. I want you to rub my titties, my metaphorical titties, and make me feel better and everything. And I can't rub your metaphorical titties. I can't. Because it's like there's only listen, if truth triggers you, I have always been the wrong person for you. And you know that too, Grant. You know that true. Absolutely. Because it's like I say a lot of rude stuff. I've said a lot of rude stuff in my life. But you would have to say honestly, if you were on the scale, about 98% of it was true, right?
I go there.
Okay. It's just like maybe you don't want to hear it and everything, but it's fucking true. So why I don't the truth. It's like we are in a reality challenged society and civilization, a reality challenged civilization, and it's got to stop, because the only thing that they do that is actually real is go out and shoot people. I don't want to work any place. I don't want to work in an office right now. I'm telling you that right now. I don't. Don't make me stationary.
I would argue that the thing that's missing is knowledge. Right? I think people have a lot of information, but people don't have a lot of knowledge. You know what I mean? Like in terms of really understanding what things mean. There's a lot of information that passes by on a daily basis. If you're on socials and your feed is constantly moving, that's just information that's coming in, and you're not really doing anything with it. It's just more and more. It becomes clutter.
It's useless
at some point, right? But that knowledge, wisdom, understanding piece is infinite. The information is cool. The wisdom is the ability to understand what you heard, right? Or what you read or whatever. I think the understanding is being able to regurgitate it.
I think the wisdom is to understand what you just heard and really understand that you're pretty much powerless to do anything about that, or to recognize what things you have power to actually change and the things that you don't have the power to change, and not to take the rest of the stuff to heart. I can sit here and I can talk about someone going into a bank and shooting like a bank manager and everything, but let's be honest, 50% of I wouldn't say 50%, but there's a small population of people that are saying like, good, that's what should happen to a bank president today.
Right.
They took my fucking house. Right? There are people that are sitting there saying that. I'm not saying it's right, but they're saying it. The problem with today is that the fact that I would say that truth, I'm the one with the problem. I'm not necessarily feeling that way, but I'm acknowledging that there are people that do feel that way. So you'd rather sweep those people underneath a rug And what that does is that allows for all those potential copycats to run around fucking free without you ever looking into them. Because the motherfuckers that say, that's a good thing that those people got killed, it's a very strong possibility they may be the ones to go out there and try to do the same thing in a neighborhood near you. But because you're so busy trying to make it not be true, somebody else gonna get shot.
Right. But there's, circling back, emotional maturity, right? Every piece of information that you get is not important. So you shouldn't react to everything. You know, if your feelings are just on, you know what I mean? Like if your sensibilities are so sensitive that everything offends you, you are the problem. It's not everything else. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And
I agree with that 100%. That's like sort of like what I was reading online this weekend. When I looked at it, I was like, you know what? I was like, should I be offended by this? Because I'm like, you know what? It's not really my fight. You know, honestly, it's like that story being told incorrectly. It's not my fight.
Right.
You know, so why should I be offended with it? You know what I'm saying? I know what happened. You know what happened. Everyone else knows what happened. Everyone that was actually there knows what happened. And then on the other hand, if this person is popping up their career based upon telling this tale, then, you know, who is it really hurting at the end of the day? Do I really care?
Right.
Do you care? Are you supposed to care? You know, so...
Well, that's the thing, though. Like, people want you to care about everything.
Right.
They want you to care about everything that comes across their feed and your feed. Everybody wants you to care about it.
That they care about.
Yeah, right.
That they
because
care about.
people like people who think the way that they think.
Well, and there's nothing wrong with that. I'm not mad at people who are like that, unless you go out and you're talking about shooting people, and that's exactly what's happening. It's going to be a bloodbath.
Yeah. It always is. It always is. Yeah.
Like, yo, just saying. It's gonna be
it
what
always
it is.
B.
It's gonna be what it is, man. It's gonna be you know. So all we can do is get prepared. Anyway.
Yeah. You know.
Grant Lancaster, running late. You have any last words you'd like to say before we sign off about this topic? Before we say goodnight?
Nah. You know, I just wish people the best, man. I recognize that there's a lot of unhappy people for whatever reason. You know, the effects of this pandemic, which are still yet to be really reveal themselves and be understood. And you know, I think I just want people to be happy, man. And it's hard for people to be happy in these days and times.
Really?
For various reasons.
And that's the truth.
Yeah.
And it's the truth. And it's like it's not a black thing, it's not a white thing, it's not an economic thing, it's not a male thing, it's not a female thing, or a gender thing, or a race thing, or a vegetarian thing, or whatever it is. It's just like, if I don't like you, it's just because I simply don't like you.
Right.
See, you thought I was going someplace else with that. Like it was okay. Like I was going to say the opposite. I could like you for a number of different reasons that have nothing to do with all of those things. Trust me, I'll find a way. From Detroit, Michigan, my brother, owner of City Wings.
2896 West Grand Boulevard, Detroit, Michigan. Come down and get you some.
Come get you some, Mr. Grant Lancaster. And of course, I'm your host, John X. Just having a good time this week. Mr. Robert Brooks, Mr. Gene Hopkins. Big shout out to you brothers out there in the world. Born in trouble.
Sir.
We'll be back again next week. Peace.
5,000.